So here we are, cut 6, load, and here we have the load pot getting ready to catch a log that has been brought to the side of the truck. Here is uh, the load pot. Here is the truck pot, the senior red pot responsible for the truck. And the load pot is at this point saying he is somewhere in the process of saying 1-2 on the truck. So when a log is brought up to the truck, and we'll rewind a little bit and see this log being brought up to the truck. You carry the log through load site, just as if just as they do carry the logs out in the woods, and you bring it up to the truck. And when you get close enough to the truck, whereas up to this point you're going to have a crew chief who is giving instructions on what the log needs to be doing. When you get up to the truck, the log becomes the responsibility of the truck pot and then the load pot, and they're the ones that get the log where it belongs in relation to the truck, and then the log is on the TR of truck 1-2 on the truck. You begin to throw the log, and a log is thrown to the hands of the people on the truck. And here's one, and I'm telling you, you just have not lived. You haven't lived until somebody has thrown a tree at your face on top of a truck. Here's another log being brought up, and so now that we're into load with humans doing it, the process is going to be a little bit different. The trucks are going to end up coming together differently than they have been with machines. What happens is when you have the crew, and in this case also the outfit, Squadron 17, some members of Squadron 17 were available this weekend. When they are throwing the logs onto the truck, the logs fit together more tightly. The trucks end up in the same amount of space carrying more lumber. The physical act of throwing and the log falling into place, the control that you have over the precise placement of every log, you end up putting more on the truck. It is a heavier truck, a bigger truck, and again, generally just a much more motivating truck. Now, this was that log, and this obviously way overexposed. I screwed this one up, but that's okay. It's early in the morning. I get my legs back underneath me pretty quick. Here's this truck that they are loading now. It already actually had a few logs on it from the tractor on the day before, and so you've got these sticks on the side, these trees, these straight limbs that are carved, and we're going to see later on the next truck these sticks being put into the side of the truck, and you'll see kind of how they're made. But when you're mech loading, these sticks in the side of the truck holding the logs back are they are there to keep the logs contained until you get the chains on them and get out. If any one of these break when you've got a tractor that's sitting in front of it, then things are going to be fine. But now they have this truck that had the sticks in it, and it was started being loaded by machine. Then Walton shows up on the next day, and so now they've got what he's doing is he's driving these sticks home farther, because now it's not they're going to start putting some real weight on this truck and behind these sticks, and now it's not going to be a machine that's in front of these sticks anymore. It's going to be actual people. So you don't generally ever see anybody having to pound these sticks back home uh, with logs already on the truck. This is unusual. But again, this was a truck that started with a machine working on it, and now you got people in front of it. So they're doubling down on sending these sticks home. Here, and again, this looks like this one's going to be overexposed too. But so just brace yourself. But here's another log being thrown onto the truck. These cedars, you can toss them a mile. Uh, but you see the coordination there, and when you give the command and you say on the TR of truck, really all that's about is synchronizing everybody's uh, efforts to make sure that everybody's applying all of their effort at the same time, and that's what's going to get that log going. First of all, straight um, onto the truck, parallel with the side of the truck, and hitting everybody's hands at the same time. And it's going to make sure that it goes far enough. Now, the Ace was getting motivated, and unfortunately, I didn't get this. I was focused on the throwing of the log, and then I heard Ace down there, and didn't get my shot fast enough. But I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him later. He loves load. He gets so amped for them throwing those logs and nips at their heels, and when you're done tossing a log and they and it's settled onto the truck, and they know that it's going to be where it's going to stay where it needs to, they'll say break it, and that means you're done here, and then everybody there yells, something representative of their crew. Again, Walton Loads is the big thing. Walton's the crew that does it every week. And then everybody is supposed to turn around and in a hurry go get another log. And so that's part of what gets Ace so excited is is he knows when they throw a log, he's learned by this point. When they throw a log, he's getting ready. He's going to have the opportunity to chase somebody pretty quick. Um, so, I think what I'm going to go here, and we're gonna see if I can find this one from before. There's a couple that I have in mind of Ace from before. So I'm right now. We're visiting and looking very quickly at the website, um, and I think it was last year that it happened that I saw this. Maybe it was the previous year. Here we go. And anybody, what we just did here, anybody can go to the website dion-c.me, and uh, you can do searches like this and see what you can find. Here's an upperclassman has just tossed a log. The crew chief is running back. Ace is ready to roll. He's ready to hunt somebody down. So that's sort of that's exactly what happened here. And the difference is I got the shot in 2018, and I did not get the shot in 2020. But there's still more of the year left. And there's Ace again chasing some more. So anyway, fun little feature of the website. Check that out. Go up here, click the little magnifying glass, and search. We got some pretty cool technology there that's making those images findable. So anyway, returning to 2020, more tossing the logs, and they're still they're still at this point a little rough, right? This is effectively, as we kind of described, this is effectively kind of sort of the first load of 2020, because of the time off, and the previous week was again like a load class, and so they're knocking the dust off a little bit, and it is a job that requires a lot of coordination and practice. So we're gonna see. I believe I got a couple pictures of it, but we're gonna see some of the some of the practice that they do to refine their coordination. And here again is sending home the truck sticks here. Um, and again, this is you're not ever going to see this again, sending home truck sticks on a truck that already has logs in it. Um, but this was that half finished truck, half finished by machine before. Um, Here they are. This is the yellow pot for the dorm. Um, Bringing the log up. Now at this point, he's pulled up next to the truck. He's next to the truck, and you see him looking up towards the truck. This is him checking that he has got the log to where the truck needs it for the truck to take over, and so that's what he's looking up for. And uh, right about now is when the truck will take over the log and uh, and give the log its final instructions to generally almost always saddle in, which is to get closer to the side of the truck, um, and and face the log, and then clear the truck. So when you face the log, if you see here, you're going to have people staggered on the log, some on the inside between the log and the truck, some on the outside. So the truck is going to say face the log, and everybody turns and faces the log, which is the same behavior as in the woods. When you say face the log to put the log down, it's the same move. You turn and face the log, but in the case of load, you say clear the truck, and then everybody that's between the log and the truck very, very quickly slides under and to the other side. And then the truck says, and they keep their hands under it like this. Everyone keeps their hands under it. And the truck says, rock it back. And then they, 1, 2, on the truck. And there, we're looking at the TR of truck as they're pushing the log out. And after you've thrown the log, this is one thing that I noticed this weekend that they actually had down. It's the hardest thing to get used to. Absolute hardest thing to get used to, and every instinct is telling you not to do this, but it's what you have to do. When you throw a log, you're supposed to keep your hands out like this, so that if the log rolls back and has any inclination to hop over these sticks, which it's not likely to do that, but out of an overabundance of caution, you keep your hands out. And sometimes there's sometimes the log has a bow in it. There's all kinds of reasons why that log could reach out into space and try and bump somebody, try and give somebody a bruise, So you keep your hands out, and the act of everyone together keeping their hands out is what makes it, is what keeps everybody safe. And if there's any cracks in that, and there's anybody who's not keeping their hands out, well, that's a crack in the system that can propagate and cause problems. So they all did a really outstanding job of keeping their hands out, and usually somebody has to get chewed on a little bit for everybody to get the message. And I did not hear anybody have to be instructed to keep their hands out. So there's a few in there that I'm going to go back and keep. I like the dust, and the logs this year very dirty, very dusty, very muddy, which is turning into some cool stuff as they hit the truck. So there's going to be a few in this set that I'm going to go back for. I'm just going to flag that, and we're going to keep moving on. Here's more working out in that field, and in load site. I'm we're going to see a couple here that the exposures looks very different. This is me trying to get the sun, and in my post processing, I'm going to be able to bring this back a little bit, and just kind of show the sun shining on this wide open load site here. This is the Squadron 17 butt pot. So as we talked about last video, Walton loads, but historically so has Squadron 17. And Squadron 17's butt pot at load site can call logs just the same as Walton does. And so here we have Squadron 17's butt pot who is calling logs. And one of the great things about load, especially when it is done with Squadron 17 and Walton, is that you see the ability of these two very different groups of individuals with very different Aggie experiences. You've got the core and non-reg. This is different environments, but how they can come together for this common purpose and get this job done. And everywhere else at Bonfire, that experience doesn't happen until stack. You spend the whole year in your crew in the woods, and you hear a lot of participants will tell you that, my favorite thing is stack because I get to finally come together with these people that I've only seen. I can actually work with them where I was only working with this crew before, and it's this culmination of everybody coming together, and then you really, really understand how many people have been putting how much time into this experience. Again, that generally for most people doesn't happen fully until stack, but load is the place where that happens throughout the year when you have other crews that can be involved with it. And it is most motivating when the historically load outfit like Squadron 17 is able to come out and bring the core and that historic good bull relationship between Squadron 17 and Walton, and bring that together in the modern Bonfire. In any event, that's my small little soapbox. We're back to tossing logs, and this is as much as they are knocking the dust off of loading trucks. I'm knocking the dust off of shooting Walton and 17 loading trucks. It's a different it's a different experience, and there's different angles and there's different things to be caught, and you're in different light situations. Load side is generally wide open, very little shade. Everything is either fully lit or starkly backlit, and it's it is, there's a learning curve to it, and I think it's obvious that I am working through that learning curve. Now over here, what I'm shooting while I'm standing by the truck is them making truck sticks. So what they're going to be, these are those sticks that we saw on the side of the truck that they were hammering home a little bit earlier. But what they do is they take the branches and things and the small limbs, and in some cases small trees that are of a specific size, and they shave these wedges or points to them, broad points. So at the bottom they're shaved almost a 2x4 shape, and then those are pounded into the side of the truck, and that is what kind of contains the logs while they're being loaded until the chains are put on and the logs are strapped down. But they got a couple pairs working on shaving these um, truck sticks. So we're going to actually going to come back a little bit later and see that a little bit closer. Now at this point they've got the truck, that first truck that was initially loaded with a tractor. Now they're at the point that they are um, uh, doing what are called the high ports. Um, so the high ports is any log that is able to be carried by two people, with the people roughly covering the ends of the log. So covering the end means that you don't have a massive stretch of log that's hanging out in space that could poke somebody's eye out or something like that. So if you can have one person on each end of the log and you can carry it safely, then that is a high port. And so what they've done is they've gotten the truck to the point that they're not going to need any more logs thrown on it, and they called everybody, bring me high ports, and um, uh, they run out in pairs and go get these high ports. Now here we have a couple who are taking off what is an awful high port here. So that's the other thing that it happens with load. Not only is load the place where every single log has to go through, one of the advantages of having people load the trucks is that you have this other layer of filter of logs, where you have the people who are out in the woods, and ideally they're going to target trees that are perfect for going up on stack. And sometimes they think that a tree looks a certain way when it's up in the air, and when it comes down, it doesn't. But they've already cut that tree, and so they're going to cut it down into a log, and then they're going to put it on the skids, and they're going to count it, and they're going to send it out to the load site. Well, if you have a load crew out there of people, that's going to be another layer that can look at it and say, this is a piece of garbage. We're not going to use it. This is not going to go up on stack. And if you have a couple people, like a couple of the people before these two had done, they brought this log up and tried to get it on the truck, and the people on the truck threw it off the truck. And when they threw it off the truck, these two jumped in and carried it out of the way. So what ended up happening here is a perfect example of another one of the advantages of having actual people conduct load. The log is not going to go up on stack. It somehow got cut down in the woods. This looks like it might have been a limb. It gets out to load site. A couple people get motivated and they carry it up to the truck, and it passed the layer of people who were cutting the logs. It passed the layer of people who were carrying the logs to the truck, but it gets to the truck where there are more people on it who can look at it and say, get that log out of here. One of the hidden sneaky advantages to having that other layer of people ultimately responsible for putting the logs on the trucks. Also, having that layer is part of what makes the trucks packed together so much better. And here, they're handing a high port off to the truck. And at this point, the truck junior red pot has started to put together the other truck. So they are throwing the chains on the first truck that we were looking at. He has started putting on the sticks for the second truck. And when you start a truck, you only put the sticks on one side. You fill up the deck of the truck with what are called basers. Those are the first logs and the biggest that you have available that you can handle. You throw those down. Once you've got a layer of basers on, then you drive the other sticks home. We're going to see what that looks like in a minute. But that's where you, this is what a truck looks like before the work begins. Now, that also means that when you're loading a truck, when you're first loading a truck, all the logs are coming from one direction. After you've gotten sticks down on both sides, now the logs can come from one side or the other. It makes it easy to prepare for and set up shots when the truck is started, because you know where you need to be and you're not going to be moving from this side, or you at least know that if you're shooting from this side, you're going to be getting a certain kind of shot coming this way. But anyway, just um, one of the things that makes life easier a little bit when you're shooting like that. So this is, I mentioned that there was going to be some practice, some technique towards reinforcing the the synchronization of everyone. And so this happens, and what I wanted to get, and I hoped to get in time, and this was my failing to make myself prepared for this, um, and I should have known this was coming, and I just didn't get prepared for it, and that's my fault. But they were everyone who was, you see, even back here where they were doing the truck sticks, they're not back here anymore. Everybody who was tossing logs is over practicing the synchronization, and you do that. The easiest way you can do that without practicing with an actual live log in the air is to do push-ups. And so up on the truck, and this is what I wanted to get. Everybody involved was doing push-ups together. This wasn't um, uh, uh, this wasn't some kind of we're mad and you're going to do push-ups for us. This was a practice in synchronization. And so the truck pot, or the load pot, was telling everyone 1, 2 on the truck, and on the TR of truck everyone would push up. And so what I wanted to get, and I hope that I got here, is, and I think it's one of these two, that the people who were involved with throwing the logs and the others, everyone involved, is learning and practicing what the load pot is saying, and there's no exceptions from that. And then this is everyone together working on getting better. And I think one of those two got it. So I'm going to flag that and come back and look at it a little bit later. So we had an Olympic athlete here, probably a gymnast or something, no doubt. Um, this doing the pommel horse action. Actually, there was, what year? I'm sitting here joking about Olympic athletes at load, and that reminds me, and some of y'all might know exactly what I'm thinking at this point, but I'm going to go back. I think it was Bonfire 2011. 2011. Some of you, yep. It's going to be one of these. Is he here? No, he's not here. The Walton Yellow Pot from 2011. And so we're going back, golly, this is nine years now at this point. We're going back in time. Oh, this was the first year. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but this was the first year, 2011, that there was a burn ban during cut. And so this was the first year that a do not smoke rule was implemented, and no smoking in the woods, absolutely forbidden. And so the Albertsons on University Drive was going out of business, and they were shutting down. And I was there for something, and I saw their tobacco selection, and they had their stuff for these bags of beech nut for like 50 cents. So I just bought every bag of beech nut that they had, and I had the T-shirt company, Old Army Supply Co. at the time, and so I wrote Old Army Supply Co. says don't smoke, and just handed out all of these bags of tobacco. Anyway, I'm going somewhere. I promise you, I'm going somewhere with this. Here we go. Here we go. I'm a choke. So here I am joking about athletes, Olympic athletes, at Load in 2020, and here you got it. Machoke was not Olympic, but he is a medal winning arm wrestler. He is a champion arm wrestler, and I'm probably getting this wrong, but first in the world or something, right-handed, and then third or something left-handed. Um, the kind of sort of fellow that can rip a phone book with his bare hands. It's just this guy was a beast, and an outstanding yellow pot for Walton, and just a really great addition to Bonfire in his time. And anyway, so joking about somebody leaping onto a truck like a gymnast, this guy was the real deal. He was also on the Texas A&M um, gymnastics team, and anyway, so that just reminded me of that. Anyway, back to reality, back to the current season. Um, this is it. This is quite the contrast. This feat of physical prowess here, leaping up on the truck. All right, so now we're getting into basers on a brand new truck. Um, and when you're doing basers, you're not obviously going to toss them. These decks on these trucks are they are a real pain to deck, to get all these boards down and cover the bottom of the truck. And you don't want to break the decks, and you don't want to have to redo that during the week. And so when you're putting the basers down, you're really just trying to lay them down on there, and obviously in a coordinated way. But you're trying to go as gently as you can on the decks of the trucks. Now, and we were actually talking about this um, uh, this weekend, and I was explaining um, to the load pot that he was explaining some of the terminology, or using some of the terminology, talking about you got to have crowns and wings and all this thing. And I was telling him that I never remember it being that complicated. We were certainly not as evolved and precise as they are now. So I do try to keep up. I do try to keep up with what the hip kids are saying these days. Um, but it certainly can be hard to keep up with because of how much more um, uh, uh, detailed they are with how they govern how a truck is loaded. So here we have um, when a log comes up to the truck, and we've seen the log coming to the truck. We've seen what happens when the truck takes over the log, and the truck tells everyone to face the log and clear the truck, and they get to the other side and 1-2 rocket back. Well, before the truck tells them to, well, after they tell them to face the log, they say clear the truck, and one at a time, so that there's never more than one person at a time who is not holding their weight. Everybody clears the truck and comes through and squeezes through and comes to this side, so no one is between the log and the truck. When everybody has gone through and said clear, it is responsibility of the uh, the last person, which will generally be your red pot, at the end of the truck, to yell back towards the front of the truck, all clear. And so that's what he's saying, all clear, meaning we've gone down, and one at a time everyone has said clear, 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 clear. And now the red pot is yelling, the junior red pot in this case is yelling towards the front, all clear. And only after he says all clear will the load pot yell 1-2 on the truck. And so he said all clear, and here we see the log starting to make its way towards the deck of the truck. So it's load is definitely one of those things that, I mean, you can look at people cutting down trees, and you can kind of intuit what is happening and what that process is, and just generally understand. Yeah, you swing until it falls down and that kind of thing. But load is something that I feel has kind of a lot of layers to it, and the people who've done it can look at the photos and say, "Oh, this is what's happening right now at this moment," and maybe people who haven't done it can't understand or don't see what is precisely happening, and how well governed and structured it is to do this. Otherwise, kind of uh, it's kind of an out there job, but to do it in such a way that it is so safe year after year and has such a great track record of safety, and so um, it can be it can be challenging to capture the process in such a way that, me having done it, there's things that I understand and I'm just looking at them and it just makes sense to me. And sometimes I have to put myself in the position of somebody who doesn't understand and try and find a photo that captures, or a series of photos that captures just how well governed and well thought out and tried and true this this process is. So more basers, and they're gonna fill that deck up there. Um, the crew got multiple water breaks on this truck. They were really pushing hard, and I was very impressed with how they were doing with this truck. And here I am just trying to get a shot of uh, this these two crews, Walton and 17, and get in the same frame them and the thing that they are trying to replace. The thing that was trying to replace them, that they are now trying to replace again, pulling the old John Henry on it. Um, Here they are hiking a log, 1-2 hike, just like football. Um, Getting that log to a position that they can grab it. This was a good log. This was a really, really good log. This is a very, this is a very motivating log to see. Um, Same process. They're going to bring it in and bring it up to the truck. And here I wanted to get, again, this is another of trying to work the sun and the crew and get that together in the same frame. It's not as hot as it was, and maybe that's, one of the advantages of the way that Walton's schedule has worked out so far this year, is that they didn't have to load in the most miserable, um, excruciating, exhausting time of year to do it, which is at the very, very beginning when it's so hot. It is cooler, but then again, it's not exactly comfortable. And so I wanted to get that here to get the sun, and there's no relief from it. You got this little tree here that's gonna give you a little bit of help, but generally speaking, you're just kind of out in the open. Um, this was something that caught my eye. Again, I mentioned that it's very muddy, very dusty and dirty out there, and so this was. Uh, I noticed that there were a few folks who, in particular, were um, especially dirty from this truck, and so I wanted to get that, or from this particular log, and so I wanted to get that and just uh, show the general discomfort that happens. Um, he caught some dust in his eye, and I tried to uh, get that as well, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to, and I will come back and revisit that. But to me, what I saw was this is uncomfortable. This is not. This is not the greatest feeling in the world, and so that's what I was trying to capture. Um, but that's just what makes it great. If it's fun and it just feels good, then it's not right. It's, load has got to hurt. Um, Here we are um, sending home the truck sticks. Now on the other side of the truck. So this truck is being fully closed in now, and you see they leave just enough room for, you don't want to throw a log on to fill this up before you've got these truck sticks in. You want to have something to catch the log once you get this far or this close to the edge of the truck. So you send the last side of truck sticks home when um, before you've got this completely filled up. And so here's the um, every year got to try this again and do this action, the sledgehammer, sending home a truck stick, and try and get that just right. And I think there's the winner. You always end up taking so many of these to try and get that moment just right. And you end up missing by just a fraction of a second. And he just hit it. You can see from the stuff falling off of it, but it's not in contact. But looks like I got lucky here and pretty quickly got the shot of exactly what's happening. Perfect contact, things falling off of it. There's a purpose is being achieved here. Perfect. Every year too, everybody has a different style with how they swing, how they drive the truck sticks home. One of my favorite ever to watch of all time was Jorge from my time, who did this wicked windmill action. I mean, he wouldn't even slide his hands down the sledgehammer. He just kept both hands together down here at the bottom and just like a windmill, bam, 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 drove these things in. Insane to watch. I would never ever even try to do it like he did it, but I wish somebody would do it like he did it and could do it safely so I could get pictures of it, because you just almost got to see it to believe it. That guy was nuts with that thing. It struck me while I was watching the Junior Red Pot driving these home that, at least to my eye, him driving these home, his carriage in driving these home was not entirely dissimilar from the back of his shirt. And so that's what I was trying to get, was that look of him swinging the sledgehammer that, to my eye, again, looked like, well, the sort of posture and carriage of the back of his shirt. And so there's a few in there, and I'm going to go back and double check that I've got the one that is most like what I was looking at, or at least imagining that I saw. When you get the truck sticks in, you have the shortest participant who is available out there on that day come up and hold their arms straight up in the air, and you mark where their elbow is when they hold their arms straight up in the air, and that is where you cut the truck stick off at. And the brown pot will come in and do that. And actually, yeah, I did. I thought I got more of those, but this is going to be it on that. So one of these is it. But that's what's going on here, cutting those down so that the shortest person, when they throw the log, the truck stick is going to be no higher than the shortest person's elbows. It's completely makes sense. It's such a practical way of doing it. Don't take measurements. Don't use measuring tape or whatever. Just, it needs to be tall enough for the shortest person out there on that day. So use the shortest person out there as the measuring stick. And in fact, the shortest person at load site on any day is referred to as the measuring stick. And that is why. here's some more of me trying to catch the similarity, in at least to my eye, of the junior red pot with his sledgehammer and what's going on on the back of his shirt at the same time. Again, I'll go back and review that and make sure I get exactly the right one. Here's another good one that they're bringing up. Here's this is every year. Walton has load shirts, and when you show up and you put out a certain level of effort, and it has to be a lot of effort, and you sustain that effort throughout the year, then you can earn a load shirt, which is a treasured commodity for those who load. And every year there's a different saying that kind of stuck out that year. Something that somebody said. Um, and the prior year, the load shirt read on the TR of Slam Dunk, which was if you loaded, you think that's funny, but if you didn't, so we talked about, to keep everybody together, you say toss it on the TR of truck. So 1, 2 on the truck, and on the TR, that's when you throw the log. But one of the things that you do, and we're about to see it here, is a slam dunk maneuver. So we've got this space here, and this log, they don't want to throw it up here because you've still got this here. You've got to fill this in first. So the load pot is going to call for a slam dunk. So he's going to say, I need a slam dunk. And that's letting everybody know you're not going to toss it. Prepare to just get it over the truck sticks. Again, this is why you measure for the elbow of the shortest person there. You're just lifting it over the truck stick and throwing it downwards. You're slam dunking it onto the deck of the truck right in front of you. So on the TR of slam dunk, somebody was explaining to them, hey, you get it on the truck, on the TR of, they were trying to reinforce, synchronize your efforts, and we're going to do a slam dunk, and I need you to do it on the TR of slam dunk. And we laughed and laughed. Anyway, I don't care if you don't think it's funny. It's hysterical. So they get it down, and here what I'm trying to capture is that, again, another one of the things behind what makes a hand-loaded truck different than another truck, one loaded by machine. You see them, they are taking the time to tighten these up, get them nice and straight and exactly where they want, so that they can fit as many logs as they can, as tightly and compactly as possible. Also, they're going to be standing on top of these things while more logs are coming, and here's one coming from a fair distance away. And so they're putting that time, as they're waiting for this log to show up, into making the deck exactly what they need it to be for this next log. But as more logs are coming, and these logs that are going to be thrown at them, that they're going to have to catch with their hands and push down into position, they're going to have to be standing on this stuff. So again, another motivation for getting everything nice and neat, so that you can maintain your balance, keep a good position, put yourself in a position to protect yourself and to catch the log, and do what you have to with it. And here you see the load pot, and here the truck pot, and everyone all the way down with their hands on top of the log, and they're getting ready to push that log down exactly where it needs to be, right into that hole there. So you got to be in a position that you can keep stability while you're handling the logs and driving them home, but also so that you can put yourself in a position to take care of everybody else. If necessary, you jump over a log, you throw your body down on the log, you anything to keep that log where you need it, to put it where you need it, and to keep it there, even when it tries to bounce up. And it all begins with having good footing, the best you can get at least. So here's another cedar, and cedars are hell. Cedars are they're so hell. They're sappy and gross. But you also have these here called dicks sticking out of the side of it, and you've got to catch that coming at you, and not catching it is not an option. So um, it can be it can be uh, it can be a pain catching a cedar. But where I am now is underneath the trailer, looking down from underneath the trailer. It's going over my head. The gooseneck is, and the truck is right behind me. And so this is one of my favorite places to get a log, especially a big log, coming onto the truck. And again, everyone with their hands out. Um, I like shots like this where I can find the face uh, to identify a face that somebody that can be connected with. Another human is in this experience. Um, but with all of the other hands, the kind of um, that are indicating that there's a lot of people in here, but there's only one that you can identify with. I like that look, and especially one where there's attention that's being paid um, to what's just happened here. You see the hands out of all these other people. I like that look. Here we see the day wearing on one of the Squadron 17 guys. He was the tallest guy out there. So in Bonfire, what is said is trees on stumps, stumps on trees, meaning when you're carrying a log, the tree end of the log, what used to be up in the air, um, the stump people should be on that end of the log. So meaning the shortest people should be on the tree end of a log. And stumps on trees, and trees on stumps means the tallest people and the biggest people should be on the stump end of the log. So if you are the tallest and biggest person in anywhere, load, out in the woods, whatever, um, prepare for a rough day, because you are going to be on the stump end all day, and that's a hell of a grind. And so here we see the effort that is put into tossing a log. Um, and this was a big log to toss. And it was cool. They did a great job with it. I think we're probably going to go with the first one on that one, though. Maybe there's something here to the dust. So much dust. I don't know. I actually think one of these might work. And I know that I took this angle at least one or two more times on this day. So one of the things that is going to happen is I've got two that I feel pretty good about. This one here of the log having settled down, and this one here right before the toss, and seeing the people on it from this angle. And so, one of the things that I do when I'm reviewing the photos, I used to just take everything. everything that was even halfway anything at all. But I found that got to be kind of repetitive. If I was in the same angle and I took shots later that looked a lot like it, um, uh, and just took every one of them that looked halfway decent. Um, Whereas what I do now is I've got a before and after the toss thing, and then if I have this same angle later, and I've got a before and after the toss, well, I'm going to pick one from each, a before the toss and an after the toss, and instead of picking four, I'm only going to pick two, and whichever one had the best before the toss, that's going to be the one that I pick. And then for the other set, for the other time that I tried to take that shot, I'm going to pick the after. It's just a way of picking less photos and just making sure that I've got the absolute best that I can for any particular view, and keeping the slideshows and everything, and the web and the gallery experience from ever feeling like, wait, I've seen this before 5 minutes ago. So here we're back to making truck sticks, and right now they're using auto to make the truck sticks. Auto is a story for another day, but auto is a historic axe, um, that goes back many years. I had the privilege of carrying auto, um, uh, in my time, and the first year that Bonfire came back in 2002, and for so many years Walton had been the load dorm, and was not generally known to be very good in the woods. And in 2002, though, without a load, Walton had to go back out into the woods and cut. And so this, again, a long story for another day. But this axe, um, was brought out of storage and put back into use, and the axe head itself is passed down from generation to generation, while the axe handle is replaced every year, by the person who is carrying the axe. And so many years ago, this axe head right here, um, uh, was my responsibility for a year. So anyway, um, they're using it there to make truck sticks. Um, Here's another 17 under a log. At this point, it's really starting to grind in a way that you can see, and that's what I'm trying to get. That this is it you're starting to feel it. Um, but again, if you're not feeling it, it's uh, none of this experience is complete if you're not really feeling it. And that's part of what makes this group, uh, that is the Walton, this community, that's what makes it so strong for so many years. And again, Squadron 17 and those that were out and did that work, there's that connection that comes from anything in Bonfire is hard. First of all, anything is hard, but there's just something about being out at load site where it's just you, it's just your crew. You can't even see anybody else. All you see is the work that they keep throwing at you, all the logs that just keep coming and coming and coming, and and doing that together out in the sun, no shade, all day. There's no walking at load site. It's just uh, this whole machine that you end up being a part of. It makes for a very tight group, um, which is why I say if it doesn't suck, you're not doing it right. You're not getting everything you can out of it. But to be fair, in a larger sense, that applies to all of Bonfire. You should feel it. Everybody should feel it. And there's what they're doing. They're shaving the point there on the truck stick. and that's what's going to be driven into the side of the truck. Um, Here they were working on, if memory serves, um, they had a bigger log that was on the way, and the yellow pot and one of the other crew chiefs was way back in the back, picking out logs that would be next and sorting those, and they called for, hey, get up here. They're gonna need your help on this thing. And so out of one of these, I'm going to get that image that is um, the yellow pot uh, coming to be there with his crew. Uh, as we see, this is a sizable log, and they are coming from that other direction, that other side. I'm back here, back in that underneath the gooseneck thing. Um, there's a couple in here. I'm not sure. I did overexpose on this one, so I'm not sure if I got what I wanted. Um, Real quickly, I'm going to see if there's anything that is possible to do with this one. Yeah, and yeah, this one's not going to work. Now that they've adjusted that exposure, this um, I don't like the way that was shot. Oh well, there'll be more. Oh, so another thing that happens here, we see the load pot is on the truck. Well, that's where the load pot's supposed to live. That's where the load pot is supposed to want to be all day, every day. And uh, if people are taking a break uh, or whatever they're doing, and they look up and they see that for whatever reason the load pot is not on the truck, then they have to go retrieve that load pot and get him back to his home. And so that's what the fish are doing here. They're catching their load pot and they're getting him back on the truck. Uh, it really doesn't happen very often. The uh, load pot loves the truck, and so on this occasion he was over talking to the crew chiefs about something, and he got to say what he needed to say before somebody said, "Hey, wait a minute, go get him back on the truck," and so they did. Here's more that I felt were illustrating the day wearing on. Um, we see here the truck is clearly becoming a very big truck. I tried to shoot the gap here with this one. Um, didn't quite exactly work. That's right. I think if I remember, um, there's one later that it did do what I needed it to do. Load pot examining the truck coming together. This is not something you see every day either. This is one of the red pots with his own set of chaps and chainsaw. Generally brown pot job, but the brown pots were clear on the other side of the woods at this point. Load site is very, very big. It is a huge load site. I don't know, 5 acres or something. That whole area out there is. So the brown pot was far away, but this junior red pot carries his own chaps and chainsaw, which is why you see this is a Husqvarna. And I don't think I've ever had a picture of anything but a steel chainsaw out at Bonfire. That's all the brown pots use is steel. But here we see Husqvarna getting the job done on top of a truck, and I don't know, maybe there's competition. Maybe there's room for some kind of uh, equipment sponsorship here for Bonfires. I'm just, you know, brainstorming. You know, if anybody knows anybody who sells steel or Husqvarna. Here we are getting another log tossed. The names, the lines on a pot, somebody wearing, same as everywhere else. The when you wear the pot, you put your name on it, and that's passed down forever. And you'll have names that go all the way back here. We say all the way to 88, 89 on this pot, going all the way back to when this particular pot, this line of leadership was created. Uh, Here they were doing a little bit longer of a toss. So much dusting. This is what really does a number on the equipment. The dust, and I do, I've heard both sides of this, that a zoom lens is going to suck dust into it, or no, you've got nothing to worry about this day and age. I don't know. I know that I have to get my equipment cleaned, and that I know that it's not easy on this stuff. Being out here, especially like this, and you want to get the shot, and you want to get that this is dusty and messy, and people are operating in clouds of this stuff. And while you're shooting that, you're like, man, I'm gonna have to get this stuff cleaned at the end of the day again. Worth it. Worth it. I just know that I'm always on the lookout for equipment, lest I have something that I'm gonna need to replace. Here again is a Squadron 17 butt pot calling the log. Here's where I was talking about. I knew that I had another chance to shoot the gap here. And we got something like this. And this is definitely what I was talking about. There's, I'm probably going to use one of these for the before the toss, referencing some of the photos we were looking at earlier. I'm definitely going to use one of these for the before the toss piece. And then I'm going to use, from above, I'm going to use one of those for after the toss. I like this. I wish I'd have executed this one better. Just the hands and the log. This would have been a great shot if I had executed it well, and I did not execute it well. And I'm frustrated about that, and I have taken a note, and the next time I'm out there, or at some point during the year, I'm going to get this shot right. I think that's a good one for the dust. And right there, yeah, you think that's dusty. Well, there's that. That's all dust. I like that one. um, Here we got the ready position from the Jerp. I told the junior red pots this when I glanced at the back of my camera after taking this shot. We're gonna need to work on our faces here. I'm gonna need more of this, and less of this. More of this, less of this. So I'm sure he wrote that in his Dan. That big book he keeps in his back pocket. I'm sure he wrote that down. Here again, more of the mess, filth. Not exactly a great illustrative shot of that, but there's something there. I'm gonna have the whole rest of the year to get that because of what a mess it is out there right now. And I think, yeah, we are getting down towards the end here. This truck is filling up fast. Um, Another good tosser here. They're now on the high ports for this truck. And it was at this point that I noticed, and actually I wasn't the only one that noticed it, but if there was any doubt as to how heavy this truck might have gotten, how about that? We had a tailpipe getting mashed down into the dirt. So uh, they had to wire that up to get the truck off of out of load site and out onto the road. They had to pull that tailpipe up. That's how low that truck was being pushed. So a great truck. You know, we saw the start of one truck. We saw an entire other truck finish being loaded. Um, and I called it a day at that. Spent a good bit of time here on what was um, the first real day of everybody had their training and everybody had their practice. It only took them a short time to shake the cobwebs off and get the season rolling, really, really rolling with load. And so we got to see a good truck come together. Um, and so I made it home in more than enough time to be with the family for lunch while they continued to work the rest of the day and get. I'm confident they must have gotten at least a couple more trucks done for the day. Big bad trucks like this one, um, and everything's complete. The season has got all of its pieces. They're out in the woods. They're cutting down the trees. They're making incredible progress. Stack site is coming together. They're ahead of the curve on digging the the holes for the light poles. They are far ahead of schedule on that. They've got logs sorted out at stack site far ahead of schedule. They're doing everything they can and doing an extraordinary job at getting prepared to deal with any obstacles that might come their way between now and into burn, whatever that's going to be. And now they have load. They have load executed um, by the participants again by hand, and yeah, life is good. Life is good. Bonfire is motivating. So thanks for joining on this. Um, on this stream here. Thanks for hanging out with a full session of just load. Follow the gallery on Twitter at DeonC Gallery, also on Facebook. Uh, all I'm doing on any of those channels anymore, I'm only there for Bonfire stuff. And as a sidebar, I cannot recommend more. Just cut and loose. Just get rid of that stuff and get out there and do stuff like Bonfire and get out and get motivated and share motivation in the real living red ass world that's all around us. But if you are on those things, I do post updates to what's going on there. Um, Subscribe to the feed. You'll see something down there to the bottom right corner. Go ahead and subscribe to the feed to get notifications every time we sit down and review these photos. And visit the website dion-c.me. Dion-c.me is going to have the photos after we review these. I'm going to take a few days and get everything post-processed and get everything published to the web. And that's what the process looks like every year, every time. Take the photos, take a week or two to look through them, have one big night of going through and culling them and selecting them, then take a few more days to process them, and then we get them published. So dion-c.me is where you can find those. If you're a motivated bonfire participant, I don't spend a lot of time talking about these photos in the woods because you've got other things to do, but pass it back. Let everybody know where they can find the photos, because I am asked that every now and again. But the work is most important, and I appreciate that everybody keeps their nose down and does it. So, and to everyone who's been motivated that wants to know how they can help, the gallery has patrons, and I appreciate those, but I don't have anything to shoot if there is no bonfire, and there is no bonfire if you don't support bonfire. So if you want to be a patron of the gallery, that's patreon.com. Look for Dion C Gallery, and if you want to be a supporter of bonfire, I recommend that highly. StudentBonfire.com has got all the information you need about supporting Bonfire. Your support builds the hell out of Bonfire, and we look forward to another year. Again, thank you for joining. Subscribe, and we will see you next week. Build the hell out of Bonfire. Gig Maggies.